2016, Module 4, Part 1. In this segment, we're going to be creating a form using Form Wizard. So let's get back into our Riverview database. Now in Module 1, we went to the Create tab and we used this button, this first form button, to create a simple form from our visit table. So as you could see that this form allowed us to view the data one record at a time. It allowed us to navigate between the records using the arrows at the bottom. We can make changes to the data. We can add new records and we can delete records, all using a form. We can also print a form. I'm going to do a print preview. You can see that when we print a form, it's laid out on the paper the same way that it is on the screen. Oftentimes this is not very efficient as far as the number of pages that would be required and so forth. So if we scroll to the last page, you can see that it would take almost 20 pages to print our visits using this technique. If you compare that to a report, which we will be working with in a little while, you can see these are laid out more efficiently to allow for printing. And if we went to the view and chose a print preview, you can see that this only requires 3 pages to print the same information. So much more efficiently laid out for printing. So we're going to start out today creating a form from our wizard. So I'm going to go to the Create tab and I'm going to choose Form Wizard. Now the first thing I want to do is select the table or query that I'm using as the starting point for this particular form. We're going to scroll up and locate Table Owner. Once we have the correct table selected, then we can add fields. You can add one field at a time or remove ones that you don't want using the single arrows. The double arrows will add all of the fields in the order that they are in the table. So if I add all of the fields, they will be selected in the same order that they were in my table. You can remove them all with this button, the double arrow pointing back. Now if I want to switch the order of the fields, I can move a field by removing it. So I'm going to click Phone and remove it. Then I'm going to click on Email and re-add it. And you can see that what it did was it added the field below the field that I currently had selected. That is the way that you will need to move the order of the fields. So I'm going to go to Next. And again, I want to reiterate a rule that I like to use when I'm working with the wizards. I never click Finish unless Next is no longer an option. Then I'm certain that I have answered every question and there are no more questions that are going to appear on different dialog boxes. So now we can look at different layout options. So we have several that we could choose from. We're going to choose the top one for columnar. Then we're going to choose Next. If I were creating a form in a database that I was working on outside of class, I might consider choosing a couple of different options for the layout and then picking the one I like the best. Okay, so now it's asking for the name of our form, so we're going to call this owner data. Now, since Next is no longer an option, then I can click Finish and it will open up the form. Now, forms have 3 different views. The first one, Form View, this is the view we're in. You can tell because the data is highlighted. In this particular view, you can edit the data, you can add new records and delete records. You are not able to change the look of the form. If you want to do that, you need to either use the layout view. I'm going to close this sheet over here for a minute. Or you're going to choose the design view. You can see that design view has a very different look. It looks almost like a grid. However, when I go back to layout view and form view look very similar. There's a small difference though. If you look at the form view, the data is what is highlighted, and when you look at layout view, you'll notice the object is what is highlighted. In layout view, we're able to make changes to the look of our form, and so we also get some additional tabs up here on our ribbon: Design, Arrange, and Format, that allow us to make changes to our form. So let's start out by choosing the layout view. And we're going to first of all change the theme. Now with Access, if I click on the theme drop-down arrow, you'll see several themes will fill in. Office theme is our current theme in this database. But if I decided I wanted to locate a theme called Wisp, I could hover over the different themes. Notice it gives me the name. It's also giving me a live preview. So I hover over them until I find the one called Wisp. And I'm going to, instead of doing a click, the left click will change the entire database to the Wisp theme. But I don't want to change the whole database. I just want this object. So you're going to do a right click on the theme, and you're going to say apply the theme to this object only. And you can see the colors changed and the fonts when we applied the new theme. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a picture or a logo, and we want that to be in our title. So we're going to come over to our header and footer group. We're going to choose the top option for logo. And the first thing it's going to ask us is to locate the file. You're going to find a file called Animal. For you, it would have been copied from the Q drive, and it would be in the Access1/Module folder. So I want you to go locate that file. Mine's going to be in my files used in the videos. And you'll see an animals.png. You're going to click on that file and say OK. Now you can see that this picture has dotted lines around it. These are called the layout. So what you want to do is right-click on that picture, go down to layout, and you're going to remove the layout. That allows you to select just the picture and not any other related data in the header. Now I can move the picture so that I can move it to the right of the text. Again, when you're moving an object in Microsoft, you want to see the cross with the arrows before you press down and hold the mouse. Then when you move the mouse, you're moving the picture. If we wanted to enlarge the picture, we would get a diagonal arrows, would be the best way to do it, because then it will increase the size proportionately. And we can drag it larger by the corner to enlarge the photo and take up more space. If we wanted it even larger, and so we extended it into the white space, it would simply enlarge the header to make room for it. Now we're going to fix our title. So when you click on the title, you notice that it is defaulted to the name of our form. But I want to add a space in between owner and data, make it read a little better. So you're going to click between owner and data on the title and type the space bar. If you want it to fit on one row, you simply need to enlarge the box and it will go back to one row. Now if I wanted to change the color, I could, with my title still highlighted, go to the format, choose my font color arrow, and I'm going to make it black text 1, lighter 25%. So you need to hover over those colors so that you read both the color, the number, and then the percentage, either lighter or darker. Now I'm also going to add a label. So for a label, I'm going to switch views. I'm going to switch from my layout view to my design view. And in the design controls of the ribbon, you'll notice this one says text box. This one says label. So in order to add a label, we're going to click that. And I'm going to drag out the shape of a label on my header. When you release the mouse, it puts that box there. You can then type on it. So we're going to type prepared by and your name. I could go into the format and highlight the data. And change the font color. So if I wanted to make it this dark red accent 1, maybe I want to make it bold. You can see what we did there. So once you draw the border, or excuse me, the label, you're going to type your text in and then click off of it. Then you can select the label again and come to the Format tab to change the look of your letters if you wanted, or to add a fill. If we wanted to make a background color there, we could as well. Let's look at our final copy of our form. So now we're going to switch to Form View. Notice that because I used a wizard and I gave it the name of my form at the end of the wizard, it saved that form already, and it has the name that we defined on the last screen of the wizard. However, since we have made these changes, we are going to want to click Save. So in the form view, I can see my completed product. I can also navigate through the records. So I could use the arrows to scroll through each of the records. I could use the first record or the last record. Fields to navigate around. I could also use the Find. Now, if you choose to look in only the current field, it's going to look at whatever field was highlighted when you clicked the Find button. So if I said I'm looking for the last name of music, but I keep it current field, it's going to say no records are found because the current field is the owner ID. So if you want to look at an address, for example, and you only wanted it to look at the address field, you would have to click on that before you open this. If you wanted it to check every field in the document for a certain value, you can change it to say look in a current document instead of a current field. So if we typed in Bobcat and said that instead of that's the whole field, we want it to be any part of the field. We also have the ability to search up or down or both ways, and we can also say it has to match cases. So if I check match cases and the Bobcat was in the name but it was a lowercase b at the beginning, it would not find any matches. So let's see if we have Find Next. You can see it's shifted to a record where the individual lives on Bobcat Street. When you click Find Next, it tells you it doesn't find any. So what if I had clicked on owner ID and I went in and instead of saying current document, I said current field. You're going to notice that now it says it cannot find any. That is because Bobcat was in the address field, but owner ID is the field that was highlighted. You can also use wildcards in your search. So let's go ahead and we're going to go in and instead of searching for Bobcat, we're going to search for 307-824, and then we want anything that follows that. The asterisk means any character or characters can follow that. We're going to change this to look in the current document, so it'll look at all the fields. I want to make sure it looks at the phone number, and remember, owner ID was the active field when I opened it. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say that this is the whole field. The wildcard makes you need to hold whole field because the wildcard says to include anything that follows. So we're going to say find next. You can see it went to record 15. You click find next. 16, find next, 18. So you can see it is scrolling through the various records that have 307-824 in the beginning of their phone numbers. Okay, now we're going to search for Pincher. Pincher. And we're going to find next. And now we found an individual, Sandra Pincher. So I'm going to close my find and replace, and I'm going to say that this individual has notified us that they've moved. So we're going to type in their new address, 53 Verde Lane. This is in the city of Powell. Wyoming is correct, but we need to update our zip code to 82440. The rest of the information stayed the same. Notice we see the pencil. If I were to close this screen or this form right now, this would not save my changes because the pencil is still there. You need to make sure you tab to the new record so that your changes are saved. Now, if I wanted to add a new record, there's two things I could do. I could click on New up here on the ribbon in the Records group, or I could click on New Record in the sunburst arrow at the bottom. So you can choose whichever way you want, but we're going to create a new record. So if I want to add in a new record, I'm going to add in the information on AC 198 is the page in the book. 2416, and it's MEI is the first name, KOSTAS, 812 Plaza Highway, and it's in ELK space BUTTE, Wyoming 82433, and it's meow at example.com. The phone number, remember you do need to put the formatting in, so it's going to be 307-824-5873, and pay attention to the fact that the pencil is there. So when you tab, now you went to the new record, the pencil disappeared, the data is saved. Let's go to the first record, and then let's do a file print. And we're going to choose a print preview. So you can see when you do the print preview, you can scroll through the various pages, see the information and how it's laid out in a printed form. I'm going to go ahead and close the print preview. And if I wanted to print just one record, I could go to File and Print. And then on the Print button, notice I can print just selected records. I could pick pages. I can pick the number of copies I want and where I need to print it. So I'm going to go ahead and print this to a PDF. And you'll notice when it creates my PDF, it only created it for the selected record, not all records. So if you did need to just print one record so that you could confirm the data, or maybe because you needed to take it with you, then you could just print one record by choosing selected. We're going to go ahead and save those changes to our form. Remember, the changes to the data are saved as the data is changed. When the pencil disappears, the data is saved. So you can see if I change this person to be Carol Music, you see the pencil is there beside the form until I either tab through to get to the next record or use the arrow key to get to the next record. Those changes had not been saved. All right, so I'm going to close my form, and we will be ready in part 2 to create a form with a subform.